When I was young, my vision of who I thought would be the perfect person for me would probably be a brunette.
Barbie and Ken. From playing with Barbie dolls, I imagined my perfect man would be Ken. Yeah.
Somebody that enjoyed doing the things that I like to do.
Oh my gosh, who didn't like Ken? He was perfect. He was built. He had the perfect smile. He had the perfect hair. His clothes were perfect. And when you dressed him, everything about Ken was perfect.
Really, the important things to me are things that honesty and trust are probably the two most important things that I can think of as in a relationship.
He was perfect. I met him at a bar called The Office.
It was a bar that sponsored our softball team, and so we always sat on the deck in the back, and the bar, the office bar that we played for, offered to buy us all the beer we could drink every time we won a game, and we went undefeated that season. So one particular night, we were all sitting out back, and Molly and a friend of hers they were walking out the back door like they were going to go somewhere, and I didn't know either one of them.
He was with a lot of friends of mine that acquaintances of my family, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's a cute guy. I'd like to get to know him better. How am I going to do this?
Two people on my team knew Molly. One graduated high school with her, and one knew one of her sisters. And so she stopped to talk to us for a little bit, and so did her friend. And Molly kind of sat right next to me, and I can remember talking to her and thinking, oh, this girl looks pretty good. She's a cutie. And the funny thing was, I can remember that somehow we got to talk about our birthdays, and I realized that her birthday was the day after my birthday. And it was 10 years in one day, but it was one day after as far as the date goes. So anyway, we hit it off that night, and
everything played out perfect. Our actual first date, he showed up in this outfit that was okay, but he had stacks. And this was way over the era of stacks. And really and truly, I was thinking, I hope none of my friends see me with him, because oh my gosh, what is this guy thinking wearing this stuff? And I was like, if this works out, how am I going to tell him he's got to get rid of these things?
One, besides her good looks and a nice body, the thing that I was really impressed with Molly was her independence. Just that her whole attitude about things in life. And I knew that Molly was the one. It is kind of strange. We dated for a long, long time. I'll take it back. We dated what seemed like a long, long time, because I think we dated and saw each other about every day, seemed like, unless I was out of town for a meeting or hunting or something. But we spent a lot of time together, and I think it was, for some reason, it was when she got real sick, and it was in January, I believe, and I took care of her, and I don't know what it was about her, but it was something about her needing me and depending on me, and it's like, okay, I think this is the one for me right here. It wasn't anything overt, it wasn't anything that just happened at one time, but it seemed like that was the aha moment for me. And then shortly after that, I asked her to marry me.
I would have to say it might have been the first meal I cooked for him. It was the worst meal ever. Everything, I had very few dishes to begin with, very few pots and pans, and everything was out of a box except for this meatloaf. And I had everything sitting there on the counter trying to get it all to come out together at the same time. And the meatloaf was like a brick on the outside and completely raw in the middle. And Bobby ate every bit of it. But yeah, and I think at that point I realized, okay, he's a pretty good guy. I might want to stay with him for a while.
I'd already said, I told Molly, I said, well, I'm not going to ask you to marry me until I meet your parents. So the day before Valentine's Day, on February the 13th,
Because it was too cliche to do it on Valentine's Day.
I took Molly to her parents' house to pick up Rachel, because that's what Rachel was, like I always did. I waited out in the car like I always did.
Because there was a huge snowstorm that had hit, and my parents were babysitting my daughter for me, and he was having to drive me over there to pick them up.
Molly's sister Kathy came to the door and said, well, where's Bobby? And she said, well, he's in the car. Why? And Kathy said, well, Mama and Daddy want to meet him. She said, okay. So she ran out and got me and went inside the house and met her parents on February the 13th. And I can remember that. Melinda was coming in that night from somewhere, I think Columbus, Ohio or something. It was surprising her parents. And so we went out to eat dinner that night with the family, went to Western Sizzlin', came back home and hung around. And I know it was like 10 or 11 o'clock, and her parents are probably thinking, why is this guy still here? It's time to go to bed.
I am sure that my parents were sitting there because we're still waiting for my sister to get in through the snowstorm. And my parents are probably thinking, okay, we've met this guy, why don't they leave now?
So Melinda finally showed up later, and we went home. And that night I asked her to marry me because I finally met her parents. But the thing is, I had already decided I was going to ask her to marry me that night before I even knew I was going to meet her parents. So it just kind of worked out great.
We finally go back to my apartment, and Bobby and I are just sitting there together. And he told me then, he said, you know, I always said I would never marry you or propose to you until I met your parents, but I planned on doing it tonight anyway.
What was funny was the next day we saw her parents again, and we were like, I met them the night before, and here she's engaged. Well, when I was saying my vows, it was in the county courthouse.
Here we are, we're standing there about to get married, and we're in front of the Justice of the Peace at the time. And it just so happened that the Justice of the Peace had been my parents' veterinarian for years. So I was like, this really is kind of crazy that we're doing this, and this is how we're doing this. But okay, it's fine because I love this guy. I really love this guy.
He said, Bobby Wilson, do you take Molly Wilson to be your lawfully wedded wife? And it was some really good words of advice from him about being married and about marriage and that kind of thing. And so I took it to heart and listened to every word he had to say, and thought it was really good, sound advice from somebody to live our marriage as well.
We got a lot of our experience from his older brother and his wife that lived up the street from us, raising 3 children also. We took a lot of notes on how they did things, and we copied a lot of that, but you know, in the end, we have 3 wonderful children.
A father and a parent is proud not of their accomplishments that they do, whether they're track stars or football stars or whatever, but when other people tell you that your kids are great kids, that makes you proud. And so I hear that a lot from other people about both my boys and Rachel too. I mean, folks, we hear people up at the corner pub, for example, people that I don't even know, they say, oh, we love your daughter. She is awesome. She's the best person. We just think the world of her, and that makes you proud.
Happy anniversary. Thank y'all so much for everything, the love, the patience, the sacrifices that you've made over the years. We're truly blessed to have you as parents. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Big 30. All right. Really appreciate everything y'all do for me. Love y'all very much. They always talk about golden children. Y'all are golden parents. 2 crazy kids are perfect for each other, and I couldn't be more thankful, more happy to be your kid.
Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad.
We could not be more proud of 3 adult children as we are of ours. They have gone out on their own. They've made their own way a lot on their own. We've helped them where we could, but they've all struggled through a lot of things on their own, but yet leaning on us for some guidance, and have become very mature adults and have wonderful lives for themselves now.
If I was a guy telling a young person, another guy get married, first thing I'd tell him is when you wash your clothes, put all your reds and whites together, and you'll come out with pink clothes, and your wife will never let you wash clothes again. That's what I did.
Never act like you're married as in you have to stop. You can't go and do things, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're married now, you have to stop this. Bobby and I have never done that.
The marriage is not just a 50-50 relationship. Remember, if you, in your mind, you may think it's 50-50, but in her mind, she may be thinking you're only giving like 20%. So always try to give more than what you feel like is an even share for effort in your marriage.
The easiest part about loving Bobby is the way Bobby treats me and treats my family and my friends and everybody around us.
Molly has got such a great sense of humor, and she is so funny to be around. And when she's around other people and she's in her, and she's in that, not mood, but when she's in her best, when she's doing her best, I just sit back and watch her go, and she is so funny and so hilarious. She got a great sense of humor, and I think that's the easiest part I like, when she does that, and when she's in a good mood and funny, and people enjoy being around her, enjoy her company, and me too.
I feel like that we have made a home together that is a warm, welcoming home to other people and to our children and to anyone in our family.
I think in a relationship, you need to let somebody know that you love them every day. I think you need to tell them that you love them, and don't just assume that they know that you love them, because they need to hear it.
It is important to let the person know that you love every day that you love them. Every day, multiple times every day, if that's. When you love that person, it's easy. It's easy to do that. It's not a chore. It's not a thing you have to, it comes automatically, and you just do it because you love them.
I'm happy, yes. I am a happily married person.
No, Bobby does not own Stacks. Bobby does not own a Hawaiian shirt that he had. There are a lot of things that Bobby doesn't own anymore from when we first met.
Next question.